I've been producing for over 25 years, and in all that time, most of it has been up here. Yep, in my head. I mean, sure, I've got budgets, I have a real checklist, and I have a timeline that actually works. I have a system for every phase, from the very first conversation all the way through delivery, but I've never had it all in one place until today. Today, I'm laying it all on the table, and I'm giving it to you. Before anything else, before you book a flight, before you call that crew member, before you touch a camera, you've got to answer 3 questions. Number 1, who is this for? Number 2, what does it need to say? Number 3, what format does it actually serve best? Those 3 questions are going to drive every single decision you're going to make from here forward. Is this a documentary? Is it an interview-driven piece, or is it B-roll heavy with VO on the top? The format isn't just a style choice. It's literally going to determine how many interviews you're going to need, how many shoot days, how much crew, how much budget. And if you don't nail that format in the idea phase, everything downstream gets more expensive. So start here. Get the idea locked. So let's talk interviews. I'm going to tell you a story of something that happened early in my career, but I've never forgotten it. I was a producer at a large organization, and we had teams. We would fly all over the country getting testimonies from our partners. We had a great testimony come in. Someone had actually taken it and written it down from a phone call and passed it to my team. I mean, it sounded legit, and when they told me about it, I approved the trip. They flew across the country. I think it was to Alabama. They filmed the interview, and then they came back and they called me into the edit bay and said, Dan, I think we have a problem. They played the footage. It was of an older lady, very thick accent. She couldn't communicate clearly on camera. I mean, the story was great. Her testimony was really powerful, but we couldn't use it. It would have made a great piece for print material, but for video, it just didn't work. So we wasted money, we wasted a trip, and we had to make that uncomfortable call, letting the woman know we couldn't use her story due to technical issues. This is why a pre-interview exists. And so here's how I do it. Before I ever commit to filming anybody, I get them on a call. I keep it casual. I don't lead with, hey, we want to come film you for video or TV. Because honestly, the moment you say that, they're going to know what you're after. And if it doesn't work out, you've embarrassed them and yourself. So instead, I'll say something like, hey, I heard God did something great in your life. Tell me about it. And I'll listen to them. And I'm thinking, can they tell the story in a way that's clear? Does the emotion come through? And then I'll schedule a Zoom call because you really need to see and hear them before you arrive to film them. So watch their eyes, watch their energy. Can they hold the camera's attention? And if it's not working, you get to exit gracefully. You haven't committed to anything yet, and you haven't embarrassed anybody. So the pre-interview is not really a courtesy call, but it's more of an audition. So budgets, let's talk about it. Most church media budgets are built on hope. You estimate low, you hope it works out, but usually it never does. So here's how I actually build a budget. I have an Excel spreadsheet. I don't like Excel. It's confusing to me, but you got to have it. I have 2 tabs in that sheet. One is for production and one's for post-production. And I don't move forward until both of those tabs have real numbers in them. So the production tab is going to ask how many shoot days, how many crew members each day, is travel involved? Flights, hotel, per diem, all of it. Equipment rental if it's needed, and a contingency line. Always build in a contingency. Things cost more than you think. Something always breaks. Someone always needs one more extra day of shoot. And if travel's part of this, make sure whoever's funding it has approved that number before you book anything. Don't ever assume travel's covered. Get it in writing. Okay, now let's talk about crew size. I typically run small crews. This is 2 to 3 people. Everybody does multiple roles. This isn't a compromise. This is just a strategy I use because bigger crews mean slower pace. Slower pace mean more shoot days. More shoot days can mean more money. In Hollywood, they like to have one person for every position. Large crews do honestly have benefits, but there's also a lot of negatives. I work on a network level show that I produce for Paramount. It's a new Taylor Sheridan project that hasn't come out yet. And on my particular team, I have 4 crew members. There's no PAs. I mean, many times I was holding the boom mic while asking the talent questions. And there were times I was even running a second camera on my iPhone. We've done 20 episodes on a network level show with a crew that honestly looked like a church media team. And I felt completely at home because my church media days trained me for exactly that. Okay, post-production in that tab. This is the one most people forget to budget until it's too late. Who's editing the project? Is this somebody on your team that's already on salary staff, or are you having to hire them? If you're hiring them, how many hours is it going to take? Here's a tip. I always negotiate a flat rate with my editor before we shoot. It's not hourly, but flat, because hourly rates go all over the place. A flat rate protects you, and it gives the client a real number. Can your editor also handle final sound mix or color correction? Or do you need to hire those things out separately? Know before you shoot. Music licensing. This one will get you if you're not careful. I recently worked on a project where we used a stock music library that wasn't cleared for broadcast because the client originally said it wasn't going to air. They had no intention of that. Then they changed their mind because they liked the piece so much. That caused a big commotion. We had to go back to the music company and negotiate a buyout rate. It was expensive, stressful, and avoidable. So here's my role now. Always plan for broadcast. Even if the client says it will never air, plan for it. Covers you though. Why not be covered? There are great music libraries out there that cost under $50 a month with full broadcast rights. Use one of those. And if this project is going to be broadcast, think about things like closed captioning. It's required. Most people don't know what that rate is and what it costs until they get the invoice. There are companies that handle this. That's their full-time thing. Get the number before you shoot. Put it in the budget. Once both those tabs are filled in, you've got your real number. Then you can ask, hey, can the church even afford this? Or where can we cut if we need to? And most of the time you can cut by maybe doing double duty yourself, by keeping the crew small, or if you're willing to hold the boom mic and run camera and ask questions. In Hollywood, they call it guerrilla filmmaking. In church media, we call it a normal day. If you're planning, maybe you're in the middle of planning a project right now and this is landing close to home, I want you to know about the producer's seat. This is my private advisory program for church media leaders stepping into producer level responsibility. It's real situations, real strategy, me and you one-on-one. Head to drwmediaworks.com to learn more and apply. Okay, how do you find crew and gear when you're not at home? Traveling for a shoot changes everything. You can't bring your whole kit with you. You can't bring C-stands on an airplane easily. You may not even know anyone in the area, and the clock's ticking. Back in 2023, I was planning a documentary shoot to Jordan and Lebanon. A few weeks before, we were supposed to leave, the war broke out between Israel and Gaza. Lebanon became a war zone. So getting Americans in that region wasn't just difficult, it was super dangerous. But here's what saved the project. Before any of that happened, I had already been in contact with a local videographer in Beirut. He was a Lebanese Christian, ran his own production company, and I found him by calling around to ministries and asking for recommendations. We had planned to use him as part of our crew, supplement some of his equipment, and he was going to be our guy on the ground. But when the war broke out, we had to make a super fast pivot. I bought him an airline ticket to Jordan because he's Lebanese. Crossing into Jordan was safer for him. And doing what I had planned to do would have been super dangerous for us. So he flew to Jordan. He filmed everything. He had full creative control. Because I couldn't be there, I didn't have the flexibility I'd hoped for, right? Could I approve every setup? No, but we got the job done. And that only happened because I had found that person before I needed him. So how do you find local crew when you're traveling? Ask. Call ministries, call organizations in those regions, and ask for recommendations. Find people online who are shooting in the area and reach out. I mean, I've built a network through the years that gives me contacts in places like this, like Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, etc. You may not have that yet, but you can start to build it. Find a seasoned shooter online, someone you see that's doing good work in the area you're headed to. Send them a message, DM them, ask if they know of anybody. I promise you there's somebody. They may be able to work on your crew. They may let you rent or even borrow gear. Either way, you want them in your corner before you land. I recently borrowed equipment for a shoot in the UK. I've got the same thing lined up already in Australia. A trusted local contact is worth more than any piece of gear you could ship. So how much time do you actually need? So here's the mistake I see constantly. People plan forward from today. You need to be planning backward from delivery. So start at the finish line. When does the project need to be completed by? Then work backwards from there. Every milestone needs a date, concept locked, format agreed on, interviews confirmed, crew set, travel booked, shot list done, shoot date, edit complete, delivery. Pre-production's always a shorter window than you think it is because people are going to cancel, flights are going to change, gear breaks, the church's calendar may shift, so build buffers into your timeline. Not because you're being pessimistic, because you've done this before. And the more complex the project, say international travel, multiple locations, multiple interviews, the more buffer you're going to need. So travel, who books it and how? Travel always brings its own set of consequences. I was recently in the UK filming interviews for a documentary. I flew direct from LA to London. My director of photography flew from Florida, but he had a connection. I made it. His flight was canceled and we were scheduled to start filming the next morning. So I got a hotel at the airport and then I started making emailing everybody. I was pushing all my interviews from the morning to in the afternoon. He landed the next morning. I picked him up and we drove 2 hours into the countryside. And then we got every interview done. We didn't have to extend the trip, which was my biggest fear, because one extra day means more flights, more hotel, more day rates for people. Always have a backup plan in your mind. If someone doesn't make a flight, what are you going to do? Have that answer ready before it happens. A few rules I follow on travel: book the earliest flight of the day when you can. Early flights are always on time because the plane will typically overnight at that airport, so it's already there. Take a non-stop if it exists. There's been times I've driven up to an hour to a different airport to get the non-stop because it's worth it. Every connection is adding risk. Stay with one airline. The status you build saves so much money on bags, and it simplifies every trip. For complex overseas trips, typically, I use a travel agent. So much easier. They know the routing, the connections, the options when things go sideways. And for simpler trips that are domestic, straight flight, small cruise, I book them myself. It's usually easier to coordinate when it's 1 to 4 people. Either way, travel is part of pre-production, so treat it that way. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They think the shoot is the job. It's not. What happens on shoot day is just a direct result of what happens in pre-production. Every decision is a problem you avoid later. Get the idea locked, the pre-interviews done, the budget built, both of those tabs in Excel, the crew set, the gear accounted for. The timeline, we're going to work backwards, right from delivery, the travel plan for the unexpected. That's what a producer does before anyone says action. I've been producing shoots for over 25 years, and in all that time, I've never found the ultimate resource for what we do. Everything out there is either built for massive Hollywood crews, or it's so generic it just doesn't apply. Nothing built for the church media leader working with a small crew, a limited budget, and a pastor who needs it done super quick. So I built it myself. Sure, I've had budgets over the years, but a real checklist, a timeline that works backwards from delivery, a place to track your actuals when the project wraps. Never had it all in one place until now. I took everything I've learned over the 25 years and I put it into one document. I call it the Producer's Playbook, and I'm giving it to you for free. I know that's crazy. Go to drwmediaworks.com/playbook and grab it now. I'm also putting the link in the description. This is honestly the resource I wish I had when I was sitting in your seat. And it's yours, it's free. Check it out. You're doing harder work than most people realize, and I'm proud of you. I'm here for you. Thanks for joining me on this episode of The Producer's Seat. I'll see you next time.